2024 has had a lot of games released, but there hasn't been any extreme standout games like Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3 this year. However, I wanted to talk about what games I think will get nominated for a Game of the Year award at the 2024 Game Awards. Now, there's 6 main games that I think are likely. However, there's some others that I think could potentially be nominated for Game of the Year. First off, I just played through Dragon Age the Veilguard. I made it all the way to the end. I haven't beat the game just yet. I'm just at the very end. I don't think that that game should deserve Game of the Year, but I do know in the past, in 2014, Dragon Age Inquisition won Game of the Year. So it is kind of the style of game that I know they like at the Game Awards, but I'm not going to put it on my list because I personally didn't enjoy it as much as some of the other games on this. But here we go. We got ourselves Astrobot, which is potentially my pick for Game of the Year. I've had a ton of fun with this platformer game, which typically I'm not a huge platformer fan. I like the Mario platformers, but this one, it is incredible. An absolute blast to play through. Lots of Easter eggs for PlayStation fans. Also, we got Metaphor Refantazio. This is a JRPG by Atlas. They've had one heck of a year. They released Metaphor Refantazio, Persona 3 Reload, and Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. I've played all 3 of the games. They're all great, but Metaphor Refantazio is something new for Atlas, and I think that this game is great. We also got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I'm also a big fan of. If you played the classic, you'll know why this game is beloved, and they actually did it a lot of justice. This is a complete remake, and it's not like other remasters or remakes. This was from the ground up, completely changes everything about the game. And it's absolutely gorgeous too. This is unfortunately a PlayStation exclusive as of right now, but hopefully this will come out to PC soon. We also got ourselves Helldivers 2, which was absolutely one of the most biggest phenomenons of this year. It did lose a bit of its player base due to it getting a lot of nerfs in its gameplay, but they did roll that back and have buffed a lot of the previously loved weapons. So I do think that Helldivers 2 does have some merit in becoming Game of the Year. And we got ourselves Black Myth Wukong, which I think could, if not Astrobot, be Game of the Year. Now, there are some people saying that this won't get nominated for Game of the Year, but this is a really fun game. I just beat it the other day. I've been playing this game quite a bit. It's unique. It's got its own unique combat system. It's similar to a Souls-like game, but with a lot else for it. You got the ability, you got a bunch of different spells that you can use. The combat itself is, I think the combat itself is pretty fun. You got multiple different spells that you can use. Like, I missed with the frog there. But the combat, while it is quite challenging, is also really fun at the same time. You only get like a staff weapon, and I'm here using a spear. This is one that you get at the very end of the game, so it is pretty solid as far as action RPG style games go. It does remind me a lot of God of War Ragnarok, so if you like God of War Ragnarok, this is a pretty solid game. It's a boss rush style game. Like, you fight a lot of bosses in this game. So yeah, I do think that this game is potentially a Game of the Year nominee. There's some people saying that it won't get nominated for Game of the Year, but I think it should be on that for sure. Very fun game, and it can give you at least 40 hours of gameplay, which is incredible. So yeah, that is my pick is either this or Astrobot. But another one that I do want to talk about is Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. For a lot of people, this is their very first Space Marine, or very first Warhammer 40k game. And with that, it is actually really fun. Now, I'll show off the gameplay here. The Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 is just good, honest fun. It's a shooter hack and slash style game, and it plays really well. I find this game to be one of the craziest because you can see there the amount of creatures that is on screen. I've never seen so many in a video game before, and it's got a really cool gameplay loop. So it's quest based for the most part, but you can run around here, get shot up. You basically just want to kill everything, and that is a solid way to play a game. So you can fly around like this, and you got melee weapons. I did not do that well. My controller for some reason won't work. And yeah, what's nice about this game is it's incredibly cinematic. You can see here, you got this big war going on. You see all those creatures on the screen there? Every one of those will be something that I fight in a moment. So For the cinematic large-scale fights, I think that this game deserves Game of the Year, at least a nomination. I haven't had this much fun with like a hack and slash style game since like Gears of War, and yeah, if you're a big fan of Gears of War, you gotta check this game out. I know you'll enjoy it. I'm not even someone that is, I don't know anything about Warhammer 40k, and I've been able to learn a lot just from this game alone. But even if you don't care about the lore, it's got a really great gameplay loop and tons of things to kill on screen. So yeah, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, it's an incredible game. Like, I just can't say enough good things about it. So I really do hope that this game gets nominated, but I'll understand if it doesn't, because this may not be everyone's cup of tea, but still, I think that this game is really, really fun. Next we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is a beautiful reimagination of the classic PlayStation 1 game. Now, the graphics in this are incredible. I can't wait for it to come to PC, because on PlayStation you got to choose between obviously the quality or the performance modes, but this game looks great. Now, you got the classic companions, and I think they look better than ever, like Cloud Strife, obviously, Aerith, Red, Barrett, Tifa, and Yuffie, and obviously there's more to come. But the combat in this game is a lot different from the original. If you've played the original Final Fantasy VII and you've not played this game, I recommend you go try it right now. Even if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, this is the best way to experience it by far. Like, you'll see here the combat itself. So it's like action RPG style. You got your attack, you got your dodge mode, you can switch into different combat forms, but you can also pull up this menu here and it'll slow time down. So you got all your different abilities on the left there, and you got spells, items, and you build up power by attacking to then be able to use these attacks. And you'll see here, like, you can pull off different combos, and it's just built really well. You can switch between your characters in combat too, so if you want to go play as Aerith, you can swap between them pretty freely. So if you need to cast spells with a certain one, the combat itself does feel really nice. It's not just button matching. You can switch your stance here and you get a bit of a different style attack. That's your going into your operator mode or into your other mode here. So yeah, I do think that the combat itself is extremely enjoyable, and if you've never played Final Fantasy VII, or if you love Final Fantasy VII, you gotta try this one out, because the exploration next level, this is like an open world style game, but it also has some different linear moments to it where it tells the story, and the story is really well done too. So you can see here we're going away different spells, you can stagger folks. Yeah, it's got a level up system, different gear, you can get different weapons. There's a lot to love in this game, and it's just absolutely gorgeous too. So I am a big fan of this, and I think that this one is pretty much set to be nominated for Game of the Year. I hope that it has a high chance of winning, but I'm not too sure if it will, just because remakes typically don't have a high chance. But this is unlike any other remake. Like the Resident Evil 4 remake that got nominated last year was incredible, and this one just goes a further step after it. So yeah, I'm an absolute big fan of this, and I think it's an incredible game. Astrobot being another beloved game this year, this is my personal pick for Game of the Year. I do love Black Myth Wukong, but there's just something about this game. Now, it pays homage to some of the PlayStation's best games, like Bloodborne. This is the first reference that we got to Bloodborne in a long time. And actually, if you get the deluxe version, they give you the Yharnam Hunter outfit. So I have a feeling that PlayStation knows we want something related to Bloodborne. So I'm hopeful for the PlayStation 6. But it does pay homage to all the classic games that have come out. So like we got ourselves the God of War set up there. We got ourselves Ape Escape, Ratchet and Clank. You name it, it's probably here. And even has newer games like Stellar Blade, which is another game that I want to give an honorable mention to, because I played through this game and it was one of the first games that I beat this year. I absolutely loved it. It was a whole lot of fun. Another action RPG style game. It's even got Horizon here. Well, what's nice about the game is it's got a really nice level system to it, which I'll show you here. So the level design in this game reminds me somewhat of like Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, but the physics is incredible. Like, look at this. You can go around and smack stuff around. Every level is full of things like this, and I just think besides being a beautiful game, it also has a really fun gameplay loop to it. So you got these little lasers that you can jump around with, and yeah, it's a platformer at heart, so the depth of it isn't too deep, but I think that they add a lot of cool power-ups to the game that really do flesh things out a lot. So this game has a ton of playability, And I've enjoyed this game. I was trying not to beat it because I was just having so much fun with it. I wanted it to last forever, but I have beat all the levels. They're actually adding in free DLC, so you can get a you can play through and do speed running levels, which I really enjoy. But yeah, this game is really nice, and I think for that reason, the amount of fun that you can have with a game like Astrobot, and it was not on anyone's radar for being a game that would be this good, but oh my goodness, this is an absolute blast to play. If you've enjoyed Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, any of those games, you'll be at home with this, because it's a very solid game with great physics. The game looks good itself, but yeah, you have to be a platformer fan to like this. I don't love platformers, I'll be honest. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of platformer style games, but I do really enjoy Astrobot. I think that they did a fantastic job with this game, and yeah, PlayStation really rocked it. It just sold 1.5 million copies, so it's not even like a super popular game this year. Popular enough, but I do think that of all the games that released this year, I had the most fun and the most surprise with this one. I was a big fan, obviously, of Black Myth Wukong, which is another really great game, but it's between these two for myself. I can't decide between the two of them, but you just saw there's some Metal Gear Solid characters that I got. Yeah, Astrobot's incredible. Next, we got Metaphor Refantazio, and this game blew me away. Now, Atlas is known for having beautiful graphics here. Like, you got this really stylized menu. No matter what you do, you're going to see some flair in this game, similar to Persona 5, which is one of my favorite games that Atlas has made. And yeah, there's a lot to like in this game. A very compelling story, cool followers, and the combat system that is very unique at the same time for a JRPG. Now, I'm having a bit of a lag right now because my NVIDIA drivers need to be updated, but the combat itself is interesting. So you get different classes for your characters and you get different spells, similar to Persona, but a little bit different all the same. So you can see here, like, we're going through and using different spells. I'm just fighting a boss here, and yeah, it's fun. It's also quite challenging. So with that, I think that Metaphor Refantazio is a very solid game. And if you're a fan of JRPGs, and you maybe didn't like Persona because of the high school setting, this doesn't have it. It's much more adult and very fun. Cool characters, freaky bosses, and it's a really fun game. I'm enjoying this quite a bit. So yeah, Metaphor Refantazio, very solid game. Now, some other honorable mentions. I wish that we could nominate Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree for Game of the Year, because that game was just absolutely incredible. But unfortunately, it's not eligible, being a DLC. Stellar Blade, as I mentioned, is another game that I thoroughly enjoyed this year. It's a fun one, and if you like action RPGs, it's worth checking out. And I didn't play Silent Hill 2 Remake. I just recently actually replayed Silent Hill 2, so I didn't try that game out, but it looks like a fun game overall, and I've watched a lot of clips. It looks gorgeous, but I may potentially play that in the future. I've just been kind of burnt out with also playing Alan Wake 2 DLC and a bunch of other horror games like Resident Evil 4, so Silent Hill 2 does look like a Game of the Year candidate. Also, another honorable mention is to Pal World. This game came out, like Helldivers 2, took the world by storm and had a ton of players. It is an early access game, so it's not a full release, so I think that does count against it. Plus, it's gotten caught up in some legal trouble as of late. Another game I did really enjoy this year is Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero. This is a follow-up of the Budokai Tenkaichi series, which hasn't had a game release in a very long time. But I think that the Sparking Zero was incredible. A lot of fun, especially if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan. It's a great way to experience it. Another honorable mention goes to Hades 2, as this game in early access was mind-blowing so far. If you enjoy the original Hades, this is another really fun version, and got some cool different weapons, different god boons you can get. It's great. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is another game I didn't play, but I watched videos on, and it looks great. And another honorable mention, Dragon's Dogma 2. I don't think it's worthwhile saying this will be a nomination. I played through it. Once I beat it, I was just never drawn to go back into that game. So I don't think that that is a nomination for me. I also mentioned Persona 3 Reload. That game was really nice, but Metaphor Refantazio takes it for me. And in addition to that, we also got the Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. And also Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom released, which is another fun game. And if you're big on Nintendo, that was a pretty solid one. And then we also got the best Call of Duty in years with Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which was it was getting cooked for about 4 years now. They were making this game for quite some time. So it's nice to see Call of Duty not just churn out a year release, even though this is a yearly release. It's a pretty solid one. I really like the zombies mode. And another game I did enjoy this year was Rise of the Ronin. Now this game is, I fell off it pretty hard, but I just want to give some thoughts on some other honorable mentions. But yeah, the big games for me will be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Black Myth Wukong, Astrobot. Those are my top 3. We'll have to wait and see which does win the game of the year, which ones do get nominated, but I hope it's some of the ones I listed in this video. Balatro, before I end off, Balatro was another great game that was really great too, but as a card game, I don't think that will get nominated for Game of the Year, but also took the world by storm. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Game of the Year nominees for the Game Awards 2024. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.